Man, honestly, it was 70s, 80s, man. My kids they call the 90s the old days nowadays. That's back in the time. I tell you, picture like this. So in Detroit, streets either run this way or they run that way. They run east and west, north and south. That's all they run. They cut up into blocks. You riding down the street, all you see is people. Kids in the backyard playing basketball. You got people playing foursquare. You got Miss Johnson sitting on her porch. Can't nobody play in front of her house. And it's all the way respected. And it's just people everywhere. Everybody outside in the 80s. In Detroit, everybody's outside, man. It was beautiful. Now, it's crack era, too. So, you got to deal with that part of it as well. You got to deal with the murder, the drugs. It just... people with families who father at the plant get strung out, and that falls back on the mother, and you just got a big string of, that's going on, but everybody's outside having a good time. That's just the type of people we are, what I'm saying? Detroit give you a ruggedness about yourself. You get a little edge about yourself, and it gives you a little bit of cockiness. It's just part of being in Detroit, man. It's just you meet somebody from Detroit, they from Detroit because they gonna move different, they gonna act different, they gonna talk different. You might call them a little bit arrogant, but that's just how we roll, man. You got to have an edge about yourself in Detroit, man. It's a beautiful place, but it's one of those places. I honestly don't think I really ever thought about that as a child. When I was little, I might, you might have wanted to be a doctor because that's what people said. Be a doctor, a lawyer. That's just what was kind of pumped out. But in reality, nobody. I don't think too many people. You may have an idea that's been put in you, but as you, go through life, it kind of goes away. But I ain't never really. It never crossed my mind, honestly. We moved here in 91. I think it was August 25th, the day before school started. And my parents just, my uncle came down here to work at Saturn. We came down here to Columbia to visit him one time, He had already been down here. Man, next thing I know, they was like, hey, this what's about to happen. We about to move to Nashville. You talking about where we went to? And you talking about 1991 in Columbia. This ain't now. We talking about Columbia, dude, hey, man, understand this. Before I moved here, I had never went to school with a white person ever in my life. Ever. Detroit is real segregated. When you talk about childhood and things of that nature, you have the whole neighborhood, everybody's walking to the same school in the morning. The high schools go to the same school. The middle schools go to the same school. Elementary go to the same school. Everybody is up in the morning and everybody. So it's just a slew of people out in the morning. People going to work, people walking to school. It's just a lot going on. I love Detroit. And when we decided that we was moving down here, when they decided they was moving down here, I wanted to go stay with somebody else, but I know my mama wasn't going. It wasn't happening. You was coming. Period. Oh, culture shock, man. Soon as out the gate, we moved down here on the 25th, the first day of school, 1991, at Antioch High School. Was the next day. And we was like, me and my cousin, we was like, forget it, man. We'll go ahead and rock with it. So we went. And we talking about the old Antioch. 50-50 Blue Hole Road, 1991. Antioch was white. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nothing like it is now. Man, we got what's going on. Like this is like somebody talk to me, somebody tell me something. Then we got there, so we ain't got records, we ain't got none of that stuff. So we just showed up, right? So we in there and they put us in the library for about a week with a whole bunch of other black kids, which was kind of strange because it really, now that I think about it, I ain't never thought about it before. Y'all had it was some weird stuff going on here. Like when I just told you everybody in Detroit, the neighborhood, went to the school, I moved down here, man, they shipping folks all the way to the other side of town to go to school. Like, culture shock, like, what are y'all doing? Like, what's going on right here, man? Like, I said, this is everything I thought it was. First friend was a white dude. Had a 4x4 truck, man, out there in the creek, mud and all that old stuff, man. I'm fresh up out of Detroit, man. Take me home. Take me home. I don't want no parts of this. I don't like it. I had to get comfortable around around people that didn't look like me. That was one of the biggest challenges that I had was being around people that I've only been around black people. I've never been around white people like that before. So that was one of the things that I look back and be like, okay, now that kind of opened me up to now I can deal with different type of people no matter where you're from. So I don't have to judge you. I don't have to, I let your character, it helped me allow myself to see the character in other people and make my judgment from that. Some people be like, I don't judge, man, I judge everybody, period. It's the best way to be safe. That don't mean nothing bad on everybody, but I have to judge your character. So that's what that kind of taught me because people wasn't the same. It may be a stereotype around those people from another group, but once you get around them, you realize it's not people like that. But then you realize there's some of them that's just like that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to decipher who is who. That way you make sure you're around who you're supposed to be around. But I like people to show me who they are. That because I know. Then at that point I know who you are. Once you show me who you are, now I know who you are. So I can maneuver around like that. Because even you going through life, people blame other people for certain things, but like, man, they've been showing you who they was. You know what I'm saying? And you've been showing who you was. A lot of time, it's easy to point and look and do that type of thing, but, checking yourself is the major thing you can do. So that's another thing that I learned during that period, like just as far as that was concerned, checking myself. Not putting a stereotype on this person thinking this way, and they turn out to be a whole different. First dude I met, we in the creek mudding. He cool dude. I wasn't into that, but he was a cool dude. You feel me? But I never would have got that experience of even doing that right there if I just placed a judgment on him. Then I had a friend that I wouldn't even had when I moved down here. Just because of a judgment, not judging the person, but judging the stigma around that person. Put there by whoever. You did that on purpose. Yeah, you did that question on purpose. I'm going to start with me. I was just a knucklehead dude as a teenager, so it really didn't make no difference. I was just whatever, however. It wasn't nothing major going on. You know what I'm saying? It was just me being a teenager. But as far as the school system, listen, in Detroit, you learned about black people. That's who you learned about. The education that we was receiving in Detroit and what I walked into down here, two totally different things, nothing like the same. I was thrown back by the lack of, you can call it black history, but I call it American history. I don't think it should be separated. I think it should be put, that's one of those things, if you want the truth to be told, it has to be one. We can't teach one group this thing, teach another group that thing. That's my opinion. that has to be, man, Detroit was so rich with people. I can't remember. I don't think it was his daughter. I think it was his granddaughter. Joe Lewis was my. She was my art teacher. Joe Lewis is either his daughter or his granddaughter. I can't remember which one it was, but that was my art teacher in elementary school. You think she just coming in there talking about, man, she in there and it's going down. Like, that's the age of where Detroit was. Like, you was learning all about Black history. Like, we knew about Black Wall Streets. You know what I'm saying? It was one in almost every city for the most part. You know what I'm saying? That's how we learned. So, and they just putting that stuff out here now. We talking about learning this in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? We 2022, 2023, and they just putting this out here. I learned about this in the 80s. People cared. Your mama could come up to the school. Like, you couldn't be in there shucking and jiving, man, because mama pull up on you at the school. And they had, you know what I'm saying, back then they had teacher's assistants. So one of the parents, you know what I'm saying, they would swap, they would, whatever, however they do it. And somebody's parent would be in that class all week long. It may be my parent, maybe somebody else's parent, like my auntie done. Like, that's teacher's assistant. Like, that's, man, it was different. Now, coming to high school, one thing they did do here, okay, let me back it up. So in elementary school, we didn't take home ec and gym. I took cooking, and I took sewing, and I took housekeeping. I took golf for gym. I took basketball, and I took something else. I can't remember what it was. But it was broke down like that. Like, you ain't go out there and they rolled out the balls. Like, we learned how to hold golf clubs. We learned how to hit a golf. Like, things that the average kid that grows up in one of those type neighborhoods and never think they would, like, as a child, like, man, that was beautiful. That was, man, just even looking back on it now, that was great. But coming up in the high school, one thing I can say that they had here, and I didn't go to high school in Detroit, so I don't know how that was, but they had trades. Like, they had the mechanic shop. Like, you take your car to the mechanic shop, get your oil changed, get your brakes changed. Like, they had that here. They had carpentry, different things of that nature where you can learn skills and learn a trade, and you can leave up out of there with something. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to go and waste 4-5 years of going to some technical college of whatever the hell, where they gonna charge you $5 a semester while you work at a warehouse trying to pay them off, and you come up out of there and all they done got was a bag, and you done came up out of there with nothing. You was learning this in high school. You was jumping right out the gate. You could go get in the workforce immediately, or you learn enough information, and you working with your people, and you learn how to, you know what I'm saying, build it on your own if that's what you want to do. That's one thing that they did have. Now, the school system, preparing our young people to go out into the world, I don't see it. Somebody else need to show me that. I know 2 people right now that graduated from college. They got regular jobs, and they graduated in the last 5 years. So for that, no. A hell no. I don't believe in the public school system. To each his own. To each his own. I mean, everybody like what they like, and, I like what I like for my own reasons. Now, those reasons I can get into as well, but you come up out of there. Like I say, we took cooking. I took cooking, I took housekeeping, and I took sewing. That translates to the world. So now I know how to sew. So when I lose my button, I can sew that button back on. You know what I'm saying? I know how to cook. So when I'm out there by myself, I can go to the grocery store, buy me some groceries, go home and cook. You don't have that no more. All you have is people trying to get money from test scores. Standardized tests. That's how that's what they base the best school districts off of. A standard, they'll tell you they got the best school districts over there, and them kids, that's all they do. So so now what you're doing, you're gonna take time away from teaching me valuable skills to get me prepared to take a standardized test. So you can get money, and we ain't seen no improvements. Teachers ain't getting paid no more. It ain't the teacher's fault. I really believe if they would leave more in the hands of the teachers, I think more of what's needed to get be taught. You know what I'm saying? What to do with your money. What your check stub look like. When you get paid, how should you divide your money? You know what I'm saying? When you get paid, how do you go open that bank account? When you put that bank account in there, and after you save some money, how do you make that money grow? You know, in the words of the great Wall Street trapper, the lion ain't gonna tell the gazelle how to get away. You know what I thought about the education. I will say this: we have options nowadays. So if you have kids that's in school, we have options. The question is, are you ready to get off default mode and try something different? And what do you feel like the world is? Where do you feel like the world is going as a parent? What skills do you want your child to have moving forward? What do you want your child to be exposed to? How do you want to take them out that box so you can open their mind and they can see more things and understand how the world works? And I'm going to keep it short on this. So I made a decision 4 years ago that I was going to send my daughter, once she came out of middle school, it's just being a young black girl, man, it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just women, a girl. It's a lot going on. You know, girls don't really get along that well, and neither do women. You know, that's what I've seen from the outside looking in. And it happens with men as well. But I noticed for her, I was like, I need to change her environment. She's very smart. She will apply herself to the fullest. However, if I make a decision that I'm going to let her just go on default mode, then she's going to be put on default mode. So she's going to get in school. She's going to get bored like I was. Didn't really want to be there. Didn't really want to learn nothing. Now you start searching. Now you out here searching. You know, and you're going to latch on to whatever you latch on to. So I made a decision to send her to a private school. The school is a little bit different. You know, they not in the school a lot. You know, they do different things. They may be, they took a trip to Spain. My daughter's been to Spain. My daughter got a passport and I don't. She was in Greece on a high school trip in Greece. Took my cousin from Detroit with her. They go to Greece because I had made a decision that I was going to do something different with her when she went to high school. So, I mean, I knew that I had to take her out that box. But one of the things I learned in too, I went to Nashville School of the Arts. It was one of the schools that I interviewed for. See, because a lot of people got this thing mixed up because you got a lot of these charter schools and different schools out here. And when they start going outside the box as parents, they're not confident enough or have a vision for what they really want that they go to the schools and let the schools interview them. You're not interviewing me. I am 100% interviewing you. Kill all the noise. Like, let's get down to it. What do you offer? How can you open her up and show her more and make her more? You know what I'm saying? How are you gonna push her to believe more in herself? One thing that's distinct in this world, kids in middle school have a whole lot of ambition. A child in middle school, they want to be everything. They want to be it all. They get to high school and it dies. My daughter at her school, her freshman year, she had to do a project. They had to do a project every year. So her project was, she just studied the school, and so she interviewed all school kids in the school to see their personalities, thoughts, things of that nature. And she said what she found out is that kids, because I think that goes from 6 to 12. Timberton Academy, Nashville, Tennessee. It's down on 2nd Avenue, thinking about it, but you got to have open mind if you go here. It's not your average school. Class sizes are small. Like, the biggest class probably got 8 people in it. Dude, the biggest class has like 8 people in it. What can that teacher do? With 8 people on the other side of town, she in there with 30 of them. She in there with 30. What can she do with them? It's 30 of them, 30 different personalities, 30 different backgrounds, 30 different events that happened last night, 30 different experiences on the way to school this morning, 30 of them. Go here, go there. Go here, go there. 10-minute break, go to the next class. 10-minute break, go to the next class. 10-minute break. Like a lot of this stuff ain't hard to figure out, man. But as when I was talking about interviewing schools, make sure that you interview the school. The school is not interviewing you. We went to Nashville School of the Arts. I took her to that school, and that wasn't for her. It was cool, but that wasn't her. It was like a dance thing. It was all cool, but that was more of the recreational side, which I would see that one of those recreations that you can turn into a profession, right? Because you can dance professionally, not just at the shake joint, you know what I'm saying? When I went there, I was like, I failed my other child, Amy. As soon as I went there, I said, I failed her. She was at another school. I ain't gonna name no schools like that, but not that I don't see as well, but the school she went to, that's the school she was at, and I walked in and I said, I failed her. I didn't grow fast enough. I didn't grow fast enough to grow my child. I don't think we really understand how that actually works, man. Like, you have to grow enough to grow your child. And I don't think we really look at things that way. Like, the power of our growth, it spans so far. Because you're an example, good or bad. You are the example. No matter how you call it, what you do, you cannot tell your child that you don't want them to work a 9 to 5 and you work a 9 to 5.
Very true.
That's going to be their safeguard. They're going to know where to go with that. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of is what it is. But I'm not with the school system. I'm looking for, dude, listen. So the school she go to, she want to do sports medicine, right? So my daughter, wants to do sports medicine. At that school, another thing that turned me on to that school, as a senior, you have to do an internship. So no matter what you want to do, it don't matter what you want to do, you're going to do an internship as a senior. No matter what you want, they're going to go find that industry, that business, that person. Like, they go to different businesses in the city and talk to owners. Like, that's what they do. She want to do sports medicine. They got her internship with the Tennessee Titans. Short one day internship. She done it maybe a week and a half ago. We talking about a week and a half ago. Internship, she met Ryan Tannehill. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it was, she said the head trainer she was with was talking to her and told her, he was like, do you know who these players is? She was like, nah, I don't really do it. She's like, I know Ryan Tannehill because I hear his name on the radio all the time when I'm in the car with my father. But he was like, that's good because you don't want to be a fan. You want to be professional. As she goes into a field, the head trainer of the Tennessee Titans is lacing her. Don't be a fan, be a professional. So when she out there and she trying to do her thing and find her niche and her groove in that space, now she have the information. Even when she sees somebody she know. So when she go in there and see somebody she is a fan of, don't be a fan, be professional. Where are they giving that at? So simple. But she got that from a dude that's actually doing it. The Tennessee Titans linked up with the head trainer at Austin Peay. So she's going to do an internship at Austin Peay. She's going to Austin Peay and she's going to be there with the football team. Soon as she'll be there before the football team even start practicing, getting ready. I mean, come on now. Come on. Man, my daughter went to the other school. Here's your diploma. Deuces. See you when we see you. Come on, man. By the horns? I think it took me by the horns. Life kind of took me and like, yeah, dang it, it just got to shaking with me, man. I went to Nashville Tech for I went for like a semester and a week. First semester went there, it was just so easy. Like it was nothing. Like I was one of them dudes, I come in there and I can take your test and I can pass your test. It ain't really that big of a deal. But I went there for about a week. I don't know. It didn't work out. I didn't like it. That's one of the things I regret in life, though, too, is not going to a college and having college campus experience. I know, and it's even for me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if you're gonna go to college, you know, doctor, lawyer, things like that, where you need to have time put in because you're dealing with other people, got it good. You know, some of the things you can figure out on your own. You know, unless you just want the degree just to have it or whatever you want to do, it's cool. But not having that on campus experience, I think that's something that might have led me differently. You know, because you only know what you're exposed to, and when you only exposed to a couple of things, you're so limited. Like you're very limited in what you can do, your perception of what you can do, how you see the world, how far you can go in the world, what the world really has to offer you, which is everything. Like you get so much in the box that you don't see that. Then you get out of high school and the world starts squeezing. It's gonna start. The older you get, the world gonna squeeze harder. That just is what it is. So once you kind of get out there, you know what I'm saying, and you leave mama's house, which I did, and you know, just out there running around in the streets, man. Like wasn't no El Chapo or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Just out there, just doing what I thought was right at the time, doing what I thought was just what I wanted to do, man. It was what I wanted to do. I was in the streets, wasn't nothing major, so I ain't no gangster, nothing like that. You know, feel me? But just out there running around, making a decent living for myself, which was cool. Then the game starts squeezing on you, like the game. So not only does life squeezing on you is one thing, the game squeezing on you is different. Because when the game starts squeezing on you, now you didn't probably made you a couple of dollars. You know, people see you done made you a couple of dollars. So now you got that to deal with. You know what I'm saying? The police is inevitable. You know, if you're in the streets long enough, you're going down. It just is what it is. Ain't nobody really got to tell on you. You know, especially like nowadays, because you put it on social media. They commit crimes on social media nowadays and be like, man, they snitching on me. Like, no, I don't think so. But, you know, you kind of go through that, then you get to, now you got to deal with people that's out here, that's out here. Like this life or death, this everything. You know what I'm saying? Your whole life will be in a jar one night. You know what I'm saying? So you got to, once the game starts squeezing on you, then you start, now you got to pay bonds. You got to pay lawyer fees. You know, then those things start racking up. You know what I'm saying? Because you think, you know, a couple $1,000 go pay my lawyer, man, that ain't it. Like, man, some of that stuff, man, you know, they want like 10,000 just to sit down and talk to you, just to have a conversation. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to be playing with no lawyer's money like that because they'll show up in court on you and be like, yeah, I don't represent them no more. You know what I'm saying? So that's just part of that squeezing. After doing the street thing, you know, going back and forth to jail. I was one of those dudes. You know what I'm saying? Go to jail for a year, get out 3, 4, 6 months max. Go back for another year and a half, get out about 4 months, boom, right back. You know, get out, man, right back. That happened, I think I accumulated about 4.5 years over the course of maybe 5.5 years, and about 6 years, you know, locked up for 4.5, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So going through that, I come home and my oldest two, Mike and Elijah, I'm realizing they young at this point. You know, they may be 7, you know, something. I didn't been back and forth 4.5, and really ain't been doing my fatherly duties in between. So I get out, and Elijah don't recognize me as daddy no more. Like he like 7 years old, and Micah is reminding him in front of me like that's daddy. Like that's daddy right there. So at that point, I was like, I'm like, okay, it's time for a change, and I'm just tired at this point. So I end up going back, and I think I end up going back. I done like I ended up going back, and it was probably like a little 90 days violation type thing. And those 90, and then mind you, I had done a year, calendar to calendar, like a year, a little bit over a year and a half, calendar to calendar. In them 90 days, I was like, man, I don't want to do this no more. Like this is too much. I'm done with it. I don't really want to do it. So when I got out, I just decided that I wanted to do something different. Something different in my life had to change. So I decided the street stuff, I'm gonna leave that over there. Because I'm back out on the violation on an 11-year sentence. About 8 years left with it on the street, something like that. And the thing about it is that they don't tell you that your favorite rapper won't tell you. You would get in there, man, and you would do a violation. They'd be like, hey, you can go home today. Because I don't know how it works for everybody, but whenever I violated, I didn't get a bond. So when I went to jail, there wasn't no bailing out. Like you was there. So you in there, you be sitting there. That's how they do people. You be sitting in there, they be like, hey man, you can go home today. We'll start the time over. We'll start it all the way over again. Man, I'll go home today? Like right as I can take this off, go back to the jail, y'all gonna open the gates and let me out, which is an incredible feeling. If you do a year calendar to calendar and you get ready to walk out that thing and they open them gates up, dude, it's like in the movies. In real life, it's like in the movies. And I can only imagine what it is for people that have done like real time. Like there's some dudes out there doing time for real. They get to come home. And man, I wish the best for them because that's one of the hardest things to do is adapt to the real world. Adapting to the real world, it is so challenging because of what you're used to. Not just the income you're used to, but the way you live your life. Your life is going to get a whole lot more boring. Every day is not going to be a Friday anymore. It's going to, now you transitioning from living every day like a Friday to going to work, coming home, going to bed, getting up, going to work again. And if you decide that you're going to go out at night and that you're going to keep that going on, oh man, you know what it is. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, that's as far as like, I think as Black people, that's something we really have to pay attention to, are people that's coming home because they need support. I understand people do dumb stuff. Now, some people it's just, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It just is what it is. You can tell when people want to change because they're not going to talk to you about it. Their actions is going to lead to it. And when you see those actions, you're like, oh, he got a job. Like, man, he been working there about a year. Oh, he done got a car. Oh, he got with old girl. They done got an apartment together. Like, things that you knew that what he wouldn't do that he started doing, he's doing that with purpose. Now, at the same time, there's going to be a whole other thing. Life is going to squeeze on him. And when life squeezes on him, he knows what he can do. But every day we wake up with a chance and a choice. So what are you going to do? Because your chances and your choices going to matter. Your choices, the choices you decide to make on a day-to-day matter. The choices you decide to make day-to-day is going to dictate where you go tomorrow. No matter what it is. So it's just one of the things. I had to get that out there, man, because there'd be people coming home, man, and everybody kind of turn their back on them out there by themselves. And you know what I'm saying? It ain't about having to shove cash because they gonna go get their own paper. But if he catching the bus, rock with him. He's ready. If he won't catch the bus, he's not ready. And it's pretty much that simple. So as I'm moving forward with that, so I get out outside, I'm not gonna do that. I go get a job. You know what I'm saying? I actually found a couple jobs, because like back then, like man, you get a job, man, you like make $8, $7, $8, $9 an hour. You feel me? Like you wasn't going. If you got something $15 an hour, you was on. Like you was that dude. Like you had new cars, your apartment. If you made 50, it sounds so small, don't it? $15 an hour back in the early 2000s. Man, they think you a drug dealer out here, like in real life. So I got out when I did that. I got with my wife now. And me and her got together because I was on house arrest at one point. And when you on house arrest, everybody comes and see you for about 2 to 3 days. After that, everybody got something to do. She always came. Like this wasn't streaming. This was, Blockbuster. Like, she'd get off work, she'd go to Blockbuster, grab something, she'd grab some pizza, she'd come through the crib. First person I done seen all day outside my mama. And I'm on house arrest at mama's house. Hey man, what's going on? I can't get on the phone half the time. These people harassing me and stuff. Like, I done brought all this to her. Like, I done brought all this to my mama. Like, man, me and my mama had a real conversation one time. She told me, she said, I did not watch the news because I was afraid I was going to see you on it. And my mama watched the news every night. Like, every night, she's watching the news. And she stopped watching the news because of what I brought in her life. Like something she ain't even signed up for none of this. But she there the whole time. First time I called my mom from jail, she hung up on me. Click. Hey. You know what I did? Called right back. Called her right back. What's going on? Yep. Obviously, you know what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? But always been there, but I brought all that to her. I brought all that in her life. I brought that into like just destruction. And this is going to lead to something else that I'm going to talk about a little bit later that was going extreme one way or going extreme the other way. But I brought all that to her. So we in there on house arrest and, which is my wife now, like she was there all the time. So I ended up going to court because what you don't know, if you got somebody on probation and house arrest, they got to pay for both. House arrest is a lot higher than probation. Probation fees ain't nothing, But that house arrest, they want about $3 a month about you. They want about $3 a month about you. But I'm a fella. So man, let me tell you something, man. We got to talk about this, man. Some things we can't just be letting ride. So you're gonna put me out on probation, right? I got to keep a job. I got to do all these different things, right? So every job I go to, it makes me check a box. Back in the day when, not today, but back in those days, you went to places and filled out the application face to face with the people. You know what I'm saying? You had to go in there. Hey, can I get an application? Fill it out, talk to you. You know how the employment game went back then. You got to try to see who, because you can get a job today. You know what I'm saying? So they got the felony box on there. And right above the felony box, it tells me this will not deter, basically, in so many words, what it's telling you is this will not deter you from getting a job. I mean, come on now. You're going to just lie to me to my face. I ain't getting none of these jobs. I ain't getting nothing. So what I ended up doing was going to a warehouse. I was making like $7. And it's another thing. Hey, so I ended up getting another job, probably making about $8 an hour at the time, which wasn't bad at the time. It's regular money at the time. So making $8 an hour, I'm like, damn. When child support kick in, this ain't nothing. So I'm gonna bring you into the mind because people don't talk about these people. They don't talk about the dude that's out there that made some mistakes in his life and he want to get it straight. So now he trying to go find these jobs where he got to check the felony box because it don't hold him from getting no job. You know what I'm saying? When you go get an apartment, check the felony box. But we ain't going to stop you from getting this apartment, which I was getting none of them. And some of them just tell you like straight out, like we don't rent the felons. You know what I'm saying? You trying to have a family. But you can't even do the basics for them right now. So you getting out of jail, man. Some of these dudes, man, you got to understand what they going through out here, man. They getting out of jail. They can't get a job. They can't find a place to stay. They want to do something different. They're trying to start families, but they can't even provide the basics. They can't provide the basics. They can't provide income. They can't provide shelter. So they got to get this in her name. Then just got to go work somewhere just to have a job. Just to have one. You know what I'm saying? You just trying to have a job and bring in some money, no matter what you're doing. Man. So, and these dudes, you make your decisions, who you lay down with and get pregnant. That's one of the things we have to teach our young men, and our young ladies. Like, you got to be aware of who you decide to lay down with. Like, who you have kids with it's going to be, you putting that in your life. So you want to be, strap up and be selective about that type of thing, man, because you don't want to be out here just having kids by anybody. That's something we did in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Early 2000s, we was doing that. nothing against nobody to it. It's just what we was doing, and it's a trickle down effect from that. So our young kids, we got to be mindful of that. But going back to it, what people going, I get there, I make $8, child support kick in. This is nothing. I know I'm about to bring home about one something. So I'm sitting there one day and I called the temp service and she's like, we got a job. You can start tonight on second shift. Start paying $10 an hour. I was like, I'm there. I said, that $10 an hour will cover child support. You know what I'm saying? I still can make the 8, so I can bring something in and kind of handle that way. So I did that. I was there 11 years. It was cool. Met a lot of great people. Very grateful for them to this day because they actually gave me a job. I was cool, and yeah, it was cool because they gave me the opportunity to do that. Like, it was the type of place, like, I had a situation go down, and the police had came to the job looking for me. So supervisor, like, hey man, police is looking for you, man. Go on, and go and get up out of here. So it was that type of place. Like, they was welcoming me and people like me because they dealt with our situations, all the craziness and stuff that we had to go through there. But I remember when I first got the job there, dude, Big B told me, he said, hey man, don't get trapped here. He said, they're going to pay you enough to be all right, but don't get trapped here. And I think it was, 12 years after that, I was at that same job, and I just heard him, don't get trapped here. And I'm standing there because it was manufactured, so I was on the machine, running the machine, and I had like a full circle life minute right there where I was just sitting there, and I was like, I would never be able to provide for my family the way I want to working here. Like, it just would never happen. And that day, I went in there and took all my vacation time. I had 2 weeks. You can cash it in or take it with them back in. So I cashed in a week and I took a week off. And when I came back, I told them I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. And the plant manager came to me and told me his boss said something to him. He was like, his boss told him if we paid him some more money, would he be cool? And the supervisor, this is what the supervisor told me. This is what he told me without me even going through I ain't went through none of this with him. He comes and he tells me, he said, his boss asked him, if we pay him some more money, you think he'll stay? He said, he looked at me and told me, he said, this ain't about money. And it wasn't. It had nothing to do with money. I think nowadays where we go wrong a lot is we're chasing the bag. We're chasing money. If you're chasing money, you'll do anything.